What's up, everyone? Welcome back to another review of MCU told in chronological order. This time we're taking a look at the 21st installment, Captain Marvel, starring Brie Larson, directed by Anna Boden and Ryan Fleck. Let's waste no time. Let's try and go through this as fast as possible. Overall thoughts on Captain Marvel? I've seen this movie multiple times to say that I just don't care for it. I don't like it. I don't hate it. I am indifferent to this movie. This movie's got some good things in it, and it's got a whole lot of bad things in it. I'll do my best to illustrate both sides and come with my final conclusions to Captain Marvel. The positives. The supporting cast in this movie is really good. Samuel L. Jackson, Ben Mendelsohn as Nick Fury and Tolos in the early years of Fury. I like it. I thought Sam Jackson did a great job of playing a younger version of Nick Fury. I thought he was a lot of fun. He was very charismatic, as always, and I like seeing a different side of Fury, who is not the jaded stoic that we've come to know him as when he was introduced in the first Iron Man movie and all throughout Phase 1. I like seeing a less jaded side to his personality, but he still has that sardonic sense of humor to him. And as always, Sam Jackson's always a lot of fun to watch on screen as a character. He steals every scene that he's in. He even gives some of his charm and charisma to that blank wall known as Brie Larson in some scenes in some areas. Ben Mendelsohn, who plays the character of Tolos, who is a Skrull. I thought Ben Mendelsohn as Tolos was actually really good. I like the whole story of the Skrulls versus the Kree. I like Ben Mendelsohn's character as well as Tolos, where he has a hidden motivation underneath what's originally presented to us. We are led to believe up until the third act that Tolos and the Skrulls are the villains who are trying to wipe out the Kree. But when you get to the third act, we realize that we've had the whole thing wrong. It's actually the Kree who want to eliminate the Skrulls, and the Skrulls are just victims who have become refugees who are trying to live a life. And you have Tolos, who is pretty much doing whatever he can to save his people, particularly that of his family. I like all that stuff. I thought that stuff was really well done. I thought Ben Mendelsohn as the character was actually really good. He was funny in a lot of areas. He was serious when he needed to be. He had a lot of funny moments. He had a lot of good bantering. I like the stuff with him and Nick Fury and how they go off one another. I even like some of the bantering he does with Maria Rambeau, played by Lashana Lynch, and some of the exchanges he has with Carol Danvers. Well, some of the few scenes where Brie Larson actually looks like she's somewhat interested in what she's doing. And then again, you got Ben Mendelsohn, who like Sam Jackson, is a charismatic actor, and he brings Tolos to life. He gives him a lot of fun moments and a lot of cool little quips here and there. I like the running joke about how they were trying to find something, and then the answer was so simple. Then he turned to one of the other Skrulls, and he was like, "You're supposed to be my science guy. How could you not figure that out?" I thought that shit was hilarious. And I also like some of the visual references that they do. I like how when Tolos ends up in Maria Rambeau's house, he's doing an exact recreation of Mr. Blonde from Reservoir Dogs when he's drinking out of a cup. I thought that shit was actually pretty funny. So yeah, a lot of the visual references that are gags, I actually thought were really well done in some areas. Not all, but some. And like I said, Sam Jackson and Ben Mendelsohn, those two, they saved this movie for me because they're the two best actors. They get the best stories and they get the best bits. And then the supporting cast is rounded out by, like I said, by Lashana Lynch, who plays Maria Rambeau, who is Carol Danvers' best friend. Lashana Lynch, she's not a horrible actress, but she didn't win me over with her performance. To tell you the truth, I thought some of her acting was forced in a lot of areas, and I don't buy her and Carol as being friends at all. Akira Akbar, who played her daughter Monica Rambeau, knowing what we know now about Monica Rambeau thanks to WandaVision, seeing her as a little girl, hey, it was okay. I guess it was okay. No, there are some scenes where the little girl can come across as, cute and innocent. And then there are scenes where she's spouting off some exposition that makes her sound like she's 35 when she's only 8, when she's only like 5. Like, how do you know all this stuff? Who talks like that? No child I know talks like that. I'm sorry. Unrealistic in a way. And of course, the delivery just sounded so just awkward and clunky coming out of a little girl's mouth. and she did not sound natural at all spouting this out. It's like she was reading out of a cue card in some scenes. Yeah, she wasn't great. You have Clark Gregg reprising his role as Phil Coulson. Hey, look, it's cool to see Phil Coulson in the early days as a rookie with Nick Fury. I hate the fact that this movie did not have the sense to have Coulson be with Fury and Carol during this adventure that they're on. This would have been a perfect story about how Coulson and Fury, two of S.H.I.E.L.D.'s best agents, went on this intergalactic journey with someone who is not of this Earth, but who has Earth origins. Coulson is barely in the movie. He has maybe 3 scenes, and that's it. And they all add up to about 3 minutes of screen time and about 10 lines of dialogue. That's it, which is a godforsaken shame. So much wasted potential. Instead, I'm stuck with Maria Rambeau, who was boring who was boring as all hell. Instead of having Phil Coulson, we got robbed of a scene with Talos, Coulson, and Fury. That could have been comedic gold right there. And since the MCU is more about comedy than storytelling nowadays, come on, man, give me that scene that you robbed me of. What else? I think, in terms of supporting, no, I'm sorry. You have Annette Bening, who's in this movie as well. She's okay. Her character and her MacGuffin is pretty much what this plot's all about. Apparently, Annette Bening's character is that of a scientist named Larson, who was a mentor to Carol Danvers, but it's revealed that she was a Kree known as Marvel, and she's also this thing called Supreme Intelligence. It's one of those things where they tried to merge 2 characters into one, and they came across as just very confused and clunky and didn't really make a whole lot of sense. But Annette Bening, performance-wise, she was okay. She's a legacy actress, and she was fine in the role. Nothing that will knock your socks off, but nothing offensively bad either. She was fine. She was whatever. But the movie tries to present her as like the overarching villain, and it comes across as very weak, especially when her and Carol have that big face-off near the end. Instead of being taken serious, it's played for jokes because they're playing Nirvana and she's dancing to Come As You Are, which is so damn weird and dumb. Oh, yeah. And then you have Jude Law, who plays Yon-Rogg, who should have been the overarching villain of this movie. And the movie starts off like that, with him being a mentor to Carol. But then when they finally get to the final fight scene that they've been building up to, it goes over like a fart in church. Like, she just blasts him out of frame, and that's it. But the rest of the movie, up to that point, he's just like searching the galaxy for Carol. And he's not revealed to be a villain until like the last 20 minutes of the movie, instead of planting those seeds from early on. Early on, he comes across as a mentor to Carol, who is very stern with her, but also somebody who sees a lot of potential in her as well. And then the villain turn just comes out of left field. Like, it would have been cool if he were, yes, he's the villain, but it would have been cool that he also still views Danvers as, someone that he has a lot of admiration for. So that way, when the villain turn happens, it would have actually meant something. Then again, Brie Larson, she's not really good at acting, and her performance in this movie is so bad. What could have been a shocking moment was ruined by just her blank expression that she does all throughout. And I'll get to Brie Larson momentarily. I just want to round out my positives first, which also has a lot of negatives laced into them. But yeah, performance-wise, Jude Law, talented actor, really, really good. He's wasted in a role that does not need his talents. To be honest with you, like, it was going in a decent direction. I mean, yeah, typical, mentor and this versus student type of thing. But you have an actor who was good, but the character was not really well written. And when the revelation happens that he's a villain, it just doesn't go over well. Speaking of which, you have Ronan the Accuser from Guardians of the Galaxy, played again by Lee Pace. He does nothing in this movie. He's just there to have some conversations with Yon-Rogg about where Carol is and where this artifact that they're looking for is, which this thing is like an engine, which is actually the Tesseract. They're looking for the Tesseract, basically. That's all Ronan is there for. Ronan is just there to look for the Tesseract. He doesn't even come face to face with Danvers. She attacks his fleet, and he runs off like a little bitch to do fuck all for the next 10 years before the Guardians come across him. So yeah, why was Ronan in this movie? Hell, Why was Digimon Hornshoe in this movie as well, who played Karoth in the Guardians of the Galaxy? We find out that he was actually a Kree soldier. Could you at least give me a scene of his character being brutally injured and then Ronan taking him in and doing his cybernetic implants with him, so that way we have a little bit of an origin story for that character, and instead he's just there for fan service? And I mean, yeah, this movie for the overall MCU did a lot of bad, and I'll get to that very, very soon. So yeah, fun to see Ronan and Lee Pace, but did nothing with him in the overall run. The action sequences in this movie, they're okay. They're nothing really all that memorable. I guess you can say the only memorable fight scene is where Carol Danvers is fighting out for Kree soldiers to I'm just a girl, but that's pretty much it. I didn't even think that scene was all that great either. It was just like okay, and then you got some light show scenes where she like glows when she turns into like a glowy thing, kind of looks like the Phoenix. She takes out the spaceship that Ronan's on. That's okay. The fight scene on the train is okay. The stuff in the beginning of the Kree Starfleet going up against the Skrulls, who were led to believe are the actual villains before we find out that they're not the villains. That whole thing was okay. I mean, the directing for it was really bad, and the cinematography was also really, really bad as well. In terms of the color palette is so undynamic that it looks like that's like you're watching darkness. It's kind of like watching Godzilla 2014 all over again with some of these fight scenes. It's like, can you put the light on just a little bit so I can see what's going on? Ugh. I do not understand what it is with cinematographers nowadays and this whole naturalistic lighting. It makes the movie look just bad. It makes some of these movies look entirely bad, especially action movies. For a drama, it can look cool. For an action movie, you need to light that shit up with as much as you can so I can see what's going on. There are certain action sequences that are just not even well done or well directed. Reliance on shaky cam, which I don't care for, and over-reliance on special effects, which, when used properly, awesome. When used like this, just there. But I do like the infiltration scene with the Fury and Carol. That scene's actually pretty cool when they're trying to escape something. I enjoyed that. I ain't gonna lie. And like I said, I like some of the bantering with Tolos and Fury when Tolos is disguised as Fury's boss. I thought that stuff was fun as well. Okay, now let's get to the biggest negative of this movie, which is Brie Larson as Carol Danvers herself. You know you're doing something bad when the supporting cast has more charisma than your lead actress. Brie Larson does not fit the role of Carol Danvers. She does not have that commanding on-screen presence. She doesn't have that authoritarian look to her. She comes across as like a teenager thinking that she's a tough girl when she's not. It's like when I watch Brie Larson in this movie, I can tell that I'm watching somebody forcing herself to think that she's this character. It's not coming to Brie Larson naturally. And there are a lot of scenes where Brie Larson is not only phoning it in, but you can clearly tell that she does not want to be there. And if you don't want to be in this movie, then don't take the role. Don't take the money. Have some self-respect for yourself and don't sell out for the dollar just to put in a phony performance and then all of a sudden you want to get pissed off when people criticize how you act. You act in this movie like you're a wet sponge. You have no charisma. You can't absorb anything. You have certain scenes here and there where you look like you're okay. And then you have other scenes where you come across where you just look like you don't give a shit. And listen, does all the fault go on Brie Larson? Yes and no. As an actress, try harder. But at the end of the day, it's also bad directing as well. Ryan Fleck and Anna Boden, they're not directors meant to do these kind of movies. They're indie art house filmmakers. They're not action directors. And you can tell they're not action directors because they don't know how to direct action. And they don't know how to direct actors in action movies. You cannot have your lead star act like she's in a teen drama when she's in a superhero fiction where she's supposed to be having this larger than life personality. Instead, she's just like, I don't know who I am. I don't know this. I don't know that. Hey, listen. The superhero journey of self-discovery is always good when done right. But since it's Carol Danvers, it's not done right because we are told that she's this strong person, that every obstacle that she has to overcome all these obstacles. You literally have a scene where her friend Maria Rambo gives this just forced speech about how Carol is the greatest thing since sliced bread. And Carol does not react to it the way she should. She just has this blank expression on her face. It's just bad acting from a very mediocre actress. I'm sorry. Jamie Alexander, who played Lady Sif, she is a good actress. In hindsight, I wish they would have had her as Captain Marvel because she would have crushed it as Captain Marvel. Captain Marvel is a movie that should not have been made when it was made. This thing should have came out at the beginning of Phase 3 in 2016, and Black Widow should have been in the spot that this movie was in. Instead, you get this movie which feels like it's just being forced in. It doesn't feel like a natural progression. It feels forced in, especially when you get to, especially when you find out what this movie does to the greater MCU lore. It's ridiculous. Like, it's really ridiculous. You know, Nick Fury has this whole subplot where he's hanging around with this cat that's being called a Flurkin. For the majority of the movie, it's making you believe that Flurkin is alien talk for cat. But it's actually revealed that a Flurkin is actually this ginormous octopus beast. And this thing swallows the Tesseract, and then it scratches Fury's eye. The origin of Fury losing his eye was because he was playing with a kitty cat. That adds so many bad things to Fury's character that it's ridiculous. You're pretty much telling me that he has to make up stories to have a badass, to his badassery, instead of actually giving him losing his eye a badass moment. It was done as a joke. And it makes the story that he tells Cat about how he lost his eye into an even bigger joke. And it makes Fury comes across as somebody who is not as tough as he wants to people let on. That he's actually a punk who has to lie. That does so many things to emasculate Fury. It's actually infuriating. No pun intended. I hate it. I think it sucks. I hate that stupid cat. I hope Goose never comes back. I hated him. He was not cute. He was not fun. He was dumb. I hated Goose. I hated it. Did not like it at all. Not funny. Not funny whatsoever. And then the whole thing of Carol Danvers calling herself the Avenger. No, Captain Carol, the Avenger of Danvers. So really? We're going to do Captain America like that? The whole idea of Captain America being called the first Avenger is because that's how Fury got the name of the Avengers, from Captain America. But now, since we got to prop up Captain Marvel as the be-all, end-all of everything, everything's now based off her. You retroactively emasculated Fury and Captain America just to prop up this plank of wood. I'm sorry. I don't like that. Emasculating legacy characters to put over your new character who is not as interesting as them, that's bad. And that leaves a bad taste in the fans who have been following the MCU from 2018 to the present day. So yeah, the overall grand scheme of Captain Marvel, I don't care for it. I still do not like this movie. It's got some good things in it here and there. I like the Stan Lee cameo of him reading the Mallrats script. That was really cool. I enjoyed that a lot. And of course, I'm a fan of Kevin Smith, and I like Mallrats. So as a fan, I like seeing that. But in this instance, the negatives outweigh the very few positives this movie has. Because even the positives of this movie aren't that great, because they all lead to wasted potential in the long run. But the negatives are so heightened, it's ridiculous, and it makes this movie just, come across as just mediocre. Like, why was it made? If anything, Captain Marvel should have been the first. If anything, Captain Marvel should have been the start of Phase 4. And building that next set of movies around her if you have to. Introducing her so late in the game did not work at all. It looks and it feels forced. And when you watch Endgame, you can tell it was forced because she was a non-factor in that movie. Hence why I feel Captain Marvel should have been the first movie of Phase 4, and Black Widow, her solo movie, should have been in Phase 3. Particularly, that movie should have came out as a follow-up to Civil War. So yeah, in the long run, I don't hate nor like Captain Marvel. It's a very bland, generic movie that's very middle of the road, and that's why I'm going to give it a 5 out of 10. And that's all this movie is, a 5 out of 10. Let me know your thoughts in the comment sections down below. Like the video and subscribe, and I'll check you back next time for more.